Good afternoon. All right, much better. Well done, still enthused. Much appreciate everyone making and taking time to join us for what's an incredibly exciting day for us. Much anticipated, long awaited. Not all that long, Paul, but much anticipated at a minimum. I'm John Como, Chairman of NYPA's Board of Trustees, and officially and formally on behalf of all of us at NYPA, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our headquarters building and to this wonderful and incredible new 8th floor home of our state-of-the-art integrated smart operations center. As you saw, as Gil and I walked in, we have numerous distinguished guests with us today, so I want to open by taking a few minutes to introduce each of them. First and foremost, our friends of the New York State Government Energy Team. Our fearless leader, Richard Kaufman, Governor Cuomo's Chairman of Energy and Finance. Victoria Harmon, Senior Advisor to Mr. Kaufman. Alicia Barton, President and CEO of the New York State Energy Research and Development Agency. I think we forgot to clap for Victoria, so I think we kind of give a drive-by. Commissioner Greg Sayer from the Public Service Commission. And while Tom Falcone from Long Island Power Authority was unable to join us, we're pleased to have several of his colleagues with us here today. Come on, a little round of applause for LIPA. Our brother or sister corporation, depending on your perspective. And all the way from the West Coast, we're very pleased to welcome Bill Rue, General Electric's Chief Digital Officer. Bill, thanks so much for making the trip. And Bill brought along several of his colleagues, and we extend Bill and his team a very warm, but nonetheless wintry welcome to all of our friends and cohorts from GE. And from our nation's capital, the Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Energy, Bruce Walker. And we're also very honored to have representatives from several of our utility partners that were key players in this project and most everything else we do, starting with Ken Daly from National Grid. John McAvoy, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer at Consolidated Ed. Carl Taylor from New York State Electric and Gas. Mike Mosher from the Central Hudson Gas and Electric. And from our research and innovation partner, the Electric Power Research Institute, we're pleased to welcome Arshad Mansour, Senior Vice President of the institution's Research and Development Group. And last but certainly not least, I want to extend a very warm welcome, and more importantly, a very big thank you to the representatives from each of the vendors who did the incredibly hard work to build this awesome new space. That includes our friends from Gensler, AECOM, AECOM, Scully, and all of those who have otherwise made today a real possibility and now a reality. We wouldn't be in this fabulous facility if not for your hard work and dedication. And incredibly, you completed this project within the 5-month construction window that you promised. And that is, in and of itself, a tremendous feat and accomplishment. So from all of us, a very big thank you for a job incredibly well done. So, on behalf of my fellow board colleagues, several of whom are here this afternoon, I can only say, wow. Well, I've yet to get the tour and the full feel, unbelievably impressive as I immediately step off the elevator. We've all been hearing a lot about ISOC over the past year. Certainly intriguing, and we knew it would be exciting. And as a board, we're always incredibly proud to support the authority's efforts to consistently exceed and redefine the status quo for public entities. And this afternoon, another very shining example of that commitment. And for us, it's not a matter of being first. It's always a matter of being the best. For the better part of a century, the model for electricity generation and transmission has basically remained the same. Well, as we're all witness to today, that changes right here and right now. We're living in a very digital world. And with the opening of this Integrated Smart Operations Center, NYPA is now well on our way to becoming the nation's first all-digital utility. We intend to harness the bold ideas set forth by Governor Cuomo in his Reforming the Energy Vision strategy to create an energy system that is cleaner, more resilient, and affordable for all New Yorkers. This floor and this ISOC is the ideal place to capture the spirit of innovation that will set the tone to ensure the governor's vision comes alive. So once again, to everyone who worked countless hours to bring us here today, thank you, thank you, thank you, and congratulations. You've made us all very, very proud, and on behalf of my fellow board members and the entire NYPA organization, we thank you one more time. Be incredibly proud yourselves and enjoy today and the moment. With that, it's now my esteemed pleasure to welcome to the podium Governor Cuomo's Chairman of Energy and Finance, Richard Kaufman, to offer his words and perspective. Richard.
Thank you, Chairman Comel, for your leadership on the NYPA board, and to all the board members of NYPA for your service. I'd like to add my own welcome and thanks to NYPA employees and friends and guests. 5 years ago, during Hurricane Sandy, Governor Cuomo said that utilities were vinyl records in the age of the iPad. And his point was that business as usual for the power sector was not sustainable. Business as usual wasn't building a power grid that was more resilient or affordable, or a grid that was more responsive to changing technology or customer preferences, nor was the grid achieving the economic development opportunities that would come from building a newer, cleaner grid. Under Governor Cuomo's leadership, Reforming the Energy Vision, New York State has made meaningful progress towards building a new energy system, not just rebuilding the old. In the past 4 years, solar in New York State has grown by over 800%. We're developing offshore wind. The governor just signed legislation requiring storage. We're building new transmission. All these and more are part of the governor's mandate that 50% of the state's power will come from renewable sources by 2030. And today's event represents the next step in realizing the governor's vision. Now, I know there are some geeky and wonk types in this room, so you didn't miss the governor's comments about vinyl records and iPads, because what he was also talking about there was the point that utilities need to catch up to the digital revolution that's been going on around us for quite a while. Digital solutions on the grid can accommodate more distributed solutions such as solar and fuel cells, use storage and adjust demand to manage the intermittency of renewables, and eventually, digital solutions will allow customers to trade energy with each other. And that's why today's opening of the Integrated Smart Operations Center is so important. Because this center, combined with New York Energy Manager and Agile, NYPA really is rapidly leading the way to becoming the first end-to-end digital utility. By partnering with the private sector, as it has with GE, NYPA is showing how we can move rapidly from the grid of yesterday to the grid of the future. Now, today marks an important step towards the future, but it recalls the past. Just in the way that NYPA was a pioneer in the early days of large-scale hydro development about 100 years ago. NYPA is today setting the pace to show how digital solutions can help us achieve our goals of lower emissions, greater efficiency, resiliency, and all at a lower cost to customers. So on behalf of Governor Cuomo, thank all of you, and congratulations to NYPA for what you're doing. Now it's my pleasure to introduce NYPA's CEO and President, Gil Quinones, who is a great partner of mine and colleague in helping the state become a national and international leader in energy. Gil.
Sorry, I'm gonna do a little PowerPoint. I know you would love to have another PowerPoint in this context, but I'm just really so thrilled today because today is the start of our journey to becoming the first end-to-end digital utility, not just in the United States, I think it's in the world. And that is an aspiration that we are beginning today here in New York. But before I tell you about that journey, let me tell you a little bit about NYPA for those of you who don't know us that well. NYPA is the largest state-owned electric utility in the United States. We produce about 25% of all electricity in the state, 75% from hydro. But on a more granular way, or in a more real way, the electrons that power our subways and airports delivered by Con Edison, those electrons come from NYPA. The power that supplies large businesses across the state delivered by our utility partners, creating jobs, making capital investment, powering the economic development of the state, those electrons come from NYPA. And the power that supplies about 51 small utilities spread across the state, municipal utilities, rural cooperatives, the power for those small utilities come from NYPA. Now, we also own a third of the large power grid, the high voltage system in New York. So think of us, together with our hydroelectric power plants, as the shock absorber of the system. Hydroelectric power plants are critical to balance the system, especially as we integrate more and more wind and solar into our system. Now, you might ask, why is digital technology such a centerpiece of our strategy? Because as Richard said, there are three things that are happening in our industry, three mega trends. One is decentralization. This power grid that we have today, one-way power flow from large power plants, transmission, distribution to customers, is really getting disrupted and being more decentralized, where there's more bidirectional or even multi-flow system. Now, the other trend is electrification. Why electrification? Because electrification is key to decarbonizing every sector of our economy and also to radically improve energy productivity in almost every sector of our economy. Now, both decentralization and electrification are being pushed or enabled by digitization. Digital technology is enabling decentralization and electrification. Now, in New York, we have one goal as in our Reforming the Energy Vision strategy, one very important goal. We have many goals, but one very critical goal, which is to increase the capacity utilization of our power grid, to increase its system efficiency. Why is that important? It's important because it's not sufficient to have a smart, reliable, safe electric power system. It has to be affordable, meaning that there has to be efficiency not only on the technical side, but on the capital investment side. And as we embrace this reforming the energy vision strategy in New York, we want to make sure that we have a system that provides access, that provides opportunity for all. So as we wrestle on our regulatory policies, legislative policies, executive policies, we want to make sure that as we implement REV, that it is something that will produce benefits for everybody in New York. As we say in New York, if it's not for all, then it's not for us. What do I mean by an end-to-end digital utility? Well, first, it has to be end-to-end. Generation, transmission, distribution, customers, inside and out. That's what we mean by end-to-end digital utility. And it must, at its core, put the customer at the center of this transformation. A digital utility creates new business models. A digital utility creates new products and services for its customers. And in the end, a success of a digital utility is measured by the success of its customers. That's what we mean when we say a digital utility. Now, you may ask, why New York? Why here? Well, in 1882, Thomas Edison built the first power plant along Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan. And a few years after that, Nikola Tesla invented how to transmit electricity long distance from Niagara Falls to Buffalo. And so we are steeped in that heritage of being the place where this greatest invention, the power grid, started. And today, and in years forward, join us in creating this current grid that we have into the digital integrated energy network of the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gil. I can only add to Richard's comments. We're tremendously honored to have you as our fearless leader. He's been at it for, what, half a dozen years now? And we're incredibly proud of his passion, his commitment, his intellect, and what he's been able to do to set the pace and tone to continue to lift the organization. So Gil Quinones, thank you very much. All right, we only have another dozen or so speakers, so appreciate you bearing with us. And first up, Washington, D.C. Bruce Walker was appointed this fall by the U.S. Senate as Assistant Secretary for the Office of Electricity Delivery and Energy Reliability, the U.S. Department of Energy. And as Assistant Secretary, Mr. Walker leads national efforts to modernize the electric grid, enhance the security and reliability of our nation's energy infrastructure, and facilitates recovery from disruptions to the energy supply, both domestically and internationally. In other words, his hands are very full. And he's not a stranger to New York or to Westchester as a native of Mahopac. Bruce Walker, please welcome.
Thank you, Chairman. And it's my distinct honor to be here representing the President and the Secretary of Energy with regard to such an important investment in the future for the electric system. As the Chairman noted, DOE has some very broad but very important responsibility, not least of which is protecting the national critical infrastructure. Programs like this and the implementation of new technology and building an end-to-end digitized system will go a long way in helping us secure the nation's assets that continue to help us move forward as a great leader in the world. Furthermore, in the modernization component, the integration of renewable technologies and the advancement of other microprocessor-based technologies need to be integrated in a smart way. And I know that Gil and his team have focused on securing the cybersecurity components as we look forward into this digitization of an electric grid. I would be remiss, given the platform and given the charge that the chairman noted as part of it, the restoration component of DOE, to not personally thank Gil, the chairman, and John McAvoy from Con Ed for gathering, as well as the other New York utilities, folks to go down to Puerto Rico, where I went for more than 2 weeks, to help restore the power system in our U.S. territory. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
We have, as I noted earlier, many key and critical partners in completing this initiative. You're now going to hear from a few of them. First up, very importantly, our partners from General Electric, represented by Bill Rue, Chief Executive Officer for GE Digital, as well as Senior Vice President and Chief Digital Officer for GE. Bill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the kind welcome. So recently we held our Minds and Machines conference in front of our 4,000 customers and partners, and Gil keynoted that event. And at that, he laid out his vision for a digital utility, as well as a plan to get there. And we were all so inspired, I think, by that, especially myself and my colleagues at GE, who strongly believe in this trend towards digital in every industrial. In fact, we think it's a bigger opportunity than the consumer internet will be what happens from an industrial digitization. In fact, the recent World Economic Forum paper pointed out that they see 1.3 trillion of opportunity in the next 10 years through this digitization effort in the industrial sector. And the International Energy Agency even took that further by saying there was 80 billion a year productivity just in the power sector. And both of them talked about this idea of asset performance management being the center point of digital efforts inside of an industrial and power sector. And today, what's really exciting is not just the vision, it's the fact that we're going to see the ISOC, which is the instantiation of what they talk about as being the first step towards asset performance management and to capture these kinds of opportunities. When you look at what's happening at the New York Power Authority, it's one of a handful of organizations that's leading the way to create a blueprint. What's nice about this industry, there's an ability to share that doesn't exist in many other industries. So we have the ability here, looking at these steps, to be able to figure out how we change and digitize the power industry going forward for the next decade. It's not one day, it's not 1 year, it's a 10-year journey. And what's happening here today is a very important first step for us to be able to capture and create the first digital utility. We're so excited to be here. We're very honored to be a part of implementing this. And we thank and congratulate the NYPA team for what they've been able to accomplish today. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for your great partnership, Bill. Much appreciated. The keynote you referenced was part of our homework for trustees for today's meetings, and as impressive as the presentation was, the part I enjoyed the most was Gil's jog out from behind the screen to the podium. So I'm expecting all presenters to jog to the podium tomorrow during our meetings. So setting the pace, setting the tone. All right, as you've already heard, a key partner for us is the team from Consolidated Edison, and we're incredibly pleased to have their chairman and chief executive officer with us this morning or this afternoon. Please welcome John McAvoy.
Chairman Comel, thank you so much. to you and your fellow trustees, to Assistant Secretary Walker, to Chairman Kaufman, President and CEO Gil Quinones, and to Bill Rue, and frankly to all of our industry colleagues and partners and the honored guests here. I will tell you it is a pleasure and honor on behalf of Con Edison to be here. I can tell you that the transmission owners and partners in New York State, that today we celebrate a very important step towards the energy future that we all envision. An energy future where 50% of our electricity is generated by renewable resources by 2030, operating in a reliable, resilient, and flexible energy grid. An energy grid that will keep New York as the empire state. And an energy grid that will be supported by this integrated operations center being commissioned by the Power Authority today. This is a great step forward for melding the physical world with the digital world. It's an important step for the robust partnership that exists between our state's public, private, and nonprofit entities that bring our power to the people. We have over 11,000 miles of high-voltage overhead and underground transmission lines that carry electricity throughout the state. Over 80% of those lines were put in service before 1980. And the state's independent system operator, the New York ISO, estimates that almost 5,000 miles of our transmission lines will have to be upgraded or replaced in the next 30 years at a cost of about $25 billion. Now that can seem daunting, but I will tell you our energy landscape is changing. We're incorporating distributed energy resources at a rate that is inspiring and is a great example to other states and regions. I will tell you, when I meet with my colleagues from other utilities across the country, they are always anxious to hear about New York's initiatives, and in particular, how the governor's REV proceeding is moving us forward. We're also seeking to add large amounts of renewable energy, much of which will be large-scale wind and solar farms located outside of our urban centers. We'll need to bring that electricity into our cities and densely populated areas. And that electricity, unlike traditional resources, is intermittent, dependent on the sun and the wind. That will require integrated technology that can provide the current standards or more of reliability while meeting growing demand as we shift to a low-carbon future. We're fortunate to have industry-wide research and development efforts spearheaded by the likes of Arshad Mansour of EPRI, who will follow me today, and there are others working as well at the Edison Electric Institute. They are helping to transform our industry. And NYPA's Advanced Grid Innovation Laboratory, Agile as we all know it, is another great asset, a world-class power lab. We think the state's use of financing, competition, and private sector incentives to make transmission more efficient will help us realize the fulfillment of a clean energy future. Just as handheld devices and cloud computing have changed the way that we process information, large and small-scale generation, coupled with energy storage, will improve traffic on our energy highways. Working together with NYPA, the NISO, NYSERDA, the Department of Public Service, we will meet the ambitious goals that Governor Cuomo has established for us. And along the way, it's important for us to celebrate success, recognize significant milestones that will represent the cornerstones of our energy future, and that is what we do today. Congratulations to all involved. Thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Thank you very much, John. On behalf of the board, I'll add our thank yous to Consolidated for the great work you're doing with us in Puerto Rico. It's obviously much, much more than a recovery and restoration effort. It's a real humanitarian effort, and we couldn't be there without you. So thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Our final speaker this afternoon is Arshad Mansour, Senior Vice President of the Research and Development Group for the Electric Power Research Institute, and a key partner and player for us with this project today. Please welcome Arshad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm the last of the dozen. I'm between you and Gil taking you for a tour. It's just an honor and pleasure to be here today. This is a landmark event. I want to make two key points. First is really a shout out to Gil, his leadership team, and NYPA. They have been a partner with EPRI, along with utilities in New York, Con Edison, Central Hudson, ISOC, LIPA, National Grid. And what Gil and his team has done, we have been with that for the last, I don't know, years and years. NIPA was instrumental in the birth of EPRI 40 years ago. But this digitization, 3-4 years ago, it was just a talk. And Gil and his team, it's no longer, they walk the walk, not only talk the talk. So what you see today is the starting point, what we think, is the integrated energy network, which is the network of the future. And when we think about innovation, it's not just innovation first or innovation best, it's what innovation brings to people. Pearl Street brought light to the life of us. Niagara brought cheap power to the citizens of New York. Marcy Substation earlier this century was a critical innovation that brought that power from Niagara back to New York States. So when we look at what we are doing today, it is a stepping stone for another innovation. It's innovation which will enable the customers worldwide. And we call that the 5 C's: choice, comfort, control, convenience at a reasonable cost. To meet that in the foreseeable future, you need an ISOC, you need an agile, you need a digitized utility. And what you will see in Gil's tour is the starting point of that. We look forward to working with NIPA for the next 40 years, working with all the utilities, because what you see is a great infrastructure that will be rich with data, that will bring in open innovation to meet not just the need of New York customers, but the need of the society. Thank you.
So I think the next step is that we will have a little tour. First, this area, our Innovation Center, Innovation Hub, the reason why this is wide open is that we intend to make this area a place where our partners can come, not just NIPA employees, but employees of other utilities, employees of technology companies, original equipment manufacturers, research institutions, PhD students, our grid operators. They can come here, access our platform and our data so that they can innovate further with us or amongst themselves and create new apps and new products and services for all kinds of customers and really create an innovation ecosystem here in New York. So it's, as you can see, this area here, in the future, you will see maybe one pod, all the Con Ed R&D employees are here. On another pod, GE. Another pod, other technology companies, maybe Nest, whoever, will come and will be working either on open source innovation or tailored collaboration, various types of arrangements. So this is the first part of the tour. We will then go to just show you the offices that we have here. For the first time, we are putting together what I would call disparate groups that really should be together in a digitized utility. So our information technology folks, our operational technology, information and IT and OT are going to be here. Cybersecurity, physical security employees, research and development, our strategic group, strategic planning group will be here. So it will be an area where hopefully they can, it's like a jazz band, they can riff and create new music. That's the concept that we're having here. Our customer group will be here, who are creating new products and services for our customers and all the customers of the utilities here in New York. So this is the first area. We're going to walk to the various office space. We'll hit Agile, and then we'll end at the ISOC. Mr. Chairman, if you can do the honors.
Ready? You need the countdown or no?
3, 2, 1.
Hey! Congratulations.
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 So, yeah, what we'll do quickly is explain what you're looking behind and what this place is about. It's the Integrated Smart Operations Center, and this is the place where we are going to monitor the health of our assets real time, all the time. This is also the place where we will monitor our cybersecurity and physical security. This is also the place where we are going to monitor and help our customers optimize their use of energy. You know, we're creating basically digital twins, digital replicas of our assets, digital replicas, digital twins of the energy systems of our customers. We're monitoring about 11,000 customers right now. So we're going to go through a quick 101 on what you're looking at. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to ask Ricardo da Silva to talk about how we're monitoring the health of our generation transmission assets. Ricardo.
Great, thank you, Gil. So as Gil just mentioned, my name is Ricardo da Silva. I am the Vice President of Strategic Operations, and it is a pleasure for me to be here with you today and to show you how the information displayed on this video wall is the embodiment of what you have heard described throughout this afternoon. By leveraging technology through these applications, NYPA is taking a role in managing our assets on the generation side, on the transmission side, more effectively. And what that does in turn is it allows us to reduce our operating costs, which ultimately we pass on as energy savings to our customers. So I'll just walk you through a couple of different examples of how we're doing that. Right here in the left-hand corner of the screen is an application called UltraMap. And UltraMap is monitoring a vital transmission circuit that connects Westchester County to Long Island. It's monitoring vessel traffic in real time and alerting ships of their proximity to the submarine cable to avoid damage from anchor drops that have occurred in the past. And the reason we do that is to avoid millions of dollars in repair costs that could otherwise result from such damage. Another example, different application, is MPrest on the top section of the screen. MPrest is an application that we are using to monitor the health of large power transformers across our fleet statewide. And as I walk my way towards the center of the room, I'll just point out a couple of different screens that are based on GE software applications and the GE Predix app engine. That, coupled with OSI Pi, we're gaining some very valuable insights into the operation and into the health of our hydro and fossil facilities across the state. Through data analytics, through greater data transparency, we're improving reliability, improving plant performance, and managing our assets more effectively. And in a relatively short amount of time, what we've observed is approximately $3 million in cost avoidance, and we expect that value to increase over time. And even with our newest set of assets, the New York State Canal System, we're also beginning to apply data analytics, as you can see from this display that's monitoring water levels across that system. One other point is that both this room as well as the rooms immediately behind you are equipped to serve as the Power Authority's Emergency Operations Center when the need arises. Between the information along this video wall, it's providing data transparency, data analytics, and enhancing the situational awareness that our executive teams can use to make the best decisions. With that, I'll pass it to my colleague, Emily Bolduc.
Thank you, Ricardo. Hello, I'm Emily Bolduc. I am the Vice President of the New York Energy Manager, which you see on the center screens here. The New York Energy Manager is a digital service for our customers. We are empowering our customers to use their energy data and analytics to manage their energy in a whole new way. We have, as Gil mentioned, over 11,000 buildings online, which means we are tracking, gathering, and monitoring the energy data for 11,000 of our customers' facilities. That includes at the building level, as well as we're rolling out a new deep sub-metering initiative, which means we're gathering energy data from the most energy-consuming equipment within our customers' facilities. We use this energy data to start identifying trends and then opportunities to help our customers reduce their energy and costs. We're not just helping optimize and advance our customers' energy efficiency, but most importantly, their productivity. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Casey Carnes to speak about physical and cybersecurity.
Hello, my name is Casey Carnes, Chief Information Security Officer. We have combined cyber, physical, and network monitoring in the ISOC, but what we're doing different is tightly coupling that with the operations and the customer perspectives. And that allows us broad situational awareness and capability to respond quickly. With the Emergency Operations Center behind us, we can bring these teams together and make sure that we quickly combine for any threats, events, or anything happening to NYPA's assets, systems, or our customers' infrastructure. Outside of that, you can assume that much of our data is sanitized today for security reasons, but I can assure you that during normal operations, this facility will be the hub of intelligence gathering and information sharing for NYPA across all of our assets. And to further push the vision of our future and to bring more and more critical information into this facility, we will be leveraging the Network Comms Backbone Project, where we will bring more and more critical information from smart generation and transmission resources into this facility for more and more security protection to protect those critical energy resources that NYPA provides to all New Yorkers.
Thank you, Casey. And so this is, again, the beginning, really just the beginning of our journey. And I urge all of you to join us in this journey, hop on and partner with us, collaborate with us. Let's work together in creating the energy grid of the future. Thank you very much for coming.